And we might find out the hard way at the end of this, our folly. Prof, Lyle insisted. Mike, Manny, Citrus is certain this child is an adult, and I think so too. Ma'am, asked Mike. Let's find a way for Prof to meet her and form an opinion. I was taken by her, especially her go-to-hell fighting, or would never have started it. We adjourned, and I heard no more. Hazel showed up at a dinner shortly thereafter as Cidra's guest. She showed no signs of recognizing me, nor did I admit that I had ever seen her, but learned long after that she had recognized me, not just by left arm, but because I had been hatted and kissed by a tall blonde from Hong Kong. Furthermore, Hazel had seen through Wyoming's disguise, recognized what Wyo never did successfully disguise, her voice. But Hazel used lip glue. If she ever assumed I was in conspiracy, she never showed it. Child's history explained her, far as background can explain still a character. Transported with parents as a baby, much as Wyo had been, she had lost her father through accident while he was convict labor, which mother blamed on indifference of authority to safety of penal colonists. Her mother lasted till Hazel was 5. What she died from, Hazel did not know. She was then living in Crash, where we found her. Nor did she know my parents had been shipped, possibly for subversion, if they were both under sentences, Hazel thought. As maybe her mother left her a fierce hatred of authority and warden. Family that ran cradle roll let her stay. Hazel was feeding diapers and washing dishes as soon as she could reach. She had taught herself to read and could print letters, but could not write. Her knowledge of math was only that ability to count money that children soak up through their skins. Was fuss over her leading crush. Owner and husbands claimed Hazel owed several years' service. Hazel solved it by walking out, leaving her clothes and fewer belongings behind. Mom was angry enough to want family to start trouble, which could wind up in brawling she despised. But I told her privately that, as her cell leader, I did not want our family in public eye, and hauled up cash, and told her party would pay for clothes for Hazel. Mom refused money, called off a family meeting, took Hazel into town, and was extravagant for Mom in re-outfitting her. So, we adopted Hazel. I understand that these days adopting a child involves red tape. In those days, it was as simple as adopting a kitten. Was more fuss when Mom started to place Hazel in school, which fitted neither what Citrus had in mind, nor what Hazel had been led to expect as a party member and comrade. Again, I butted in, and Mom gave in partway. Hazel was placed in a tutoring school close to Citrus' shop. That is, near Easement Lock 13. Beauty parlor was by it. Citrus had good business, because close enough that our water was piped in, and used without limit as return line took it back for salvage. Hazel studied mornings, and helped in afternoons, pinning on gowns, handing out towels, giving rinses, learning trade, and whatever else Citrus wanted. Whatever else was captain of Baker Street irregulars. Hazel had handled younger kids all her short life. They liked her. She could wheedle them into anything. She understood what they said when an adult would find it gibberish. She was a perfect bridge between party and most junior auxiliary. She could make a game of chores be assigned and persuade them to play by rules she gave them, and never let them know it was adult serious or child serious, which is another matter. For example, let's say a little one, too young to read, is caught with a stack of subversive literature, which happened more than once. Here's how it would go after Hazel indoctrinated a kid. Baby, where'd you get this? I'm not a baby, I'm a big boy. Okay, big boy, where did you get this? Jackie, give it to me. Who is Jackie? Jackie? But what's his last name? Who? Jackie. Jackie's a girl. Alright, where does she live? Who? And so on around. To all questions, the answer was of pattern. Jackie, give it to me. Since Jackie didn't exist, she didn't have a last name, a home address, nor fixed sex. Those children enjoyed making fools of adults once they learned how easy it was. At worst, literature was confiscated. Even a squad of peace dragoons thought twice before trying to arrest a small child. Yes, we were beginning to have squads of dragoons inside Luna City, but never less than a squad. Some had gone in singly, and not come back. When Mike started writing poetry, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He wanted to publish it. Shows how thoroughly humanity had corrupted this innocent machine that he should wish to see his name in print. I said, Mike, for Borg's sake, blown all circuits, or planning to give us away. Before he could sulk, Proof said, Hold on, Manuel. I see possibilities. Mike, would it suit you to take a pen name? That's how Simon Jester was born. Ike picked it apparently by tossing random numbers, but he used another name for serious verse, his party name, Adam Celine. Simon's verse was doggerel, bawdy, subversive, ranging from poking fun at Vips to savage attacks on Warden, System, Peace Dragoons, Finks. You found it on walls of public WCs, or on scraps of paper left in tube capsules, or in tap rooms. Wherever they were signed Simon Jester, and with a matchstick drawing of a little horned devil with big grin and forked tail. Sometimes he was stabbing a fat man with a pitchfork. Sometimes just his face would appear, big grin and horns, until, surely, even horns and grin meant Simon was here. Simon appeared all over Luna same day, and from then on never let up. Surely he started receiving volunteer help. His verses and little pictures, so simple anybody could draw them, began appearing more places than we had planned. This wider coverage had to be from fellow travelers. Verses and cartoons started appearing inside Complex, which could not have been our work. We never recruited civil servants. Also, 3 days after initial appearance of a very rough limerick, one that implied that Warden's fatness derived from unsavory habits. This limerick popped up on precious sticky labels, with cartoon improved so that fat victim flinching from Simon's pitchfork was recognizably Mortal Wart. We didn't buy them, we didn't print them, but they appeared in El City and Novelin in Hong Kong, stuck almost everywhere. Public phones, stanchions in corridors, pasture locks, ramp railings, other. I had a sample count made, fed it to Mike. He reported that over 70,000 labels had been used in El City alone. I did not know the printing plant in El City willing to risk such a job and equipped for it. Began to wonder if might be another revolutionary cabal. Simon's verses were such a success that he branched out as a poltergeist, and neither warden nor security chief was allowed to miss it. Dear Mort the Wart, ran one letter. Do please be careful from midnight to 400 tomorrow. Love and kisses, Simon, with horns and grin. Insane mail. Alvarez received one reading. Dear Pimplehead, if the warden writes his way tomorrow night, it will be your fault. Faithfully your conscience, Simon. Again with horns and smile. We didn't have anything planned. We just wanted Mort and Alvarez to lose sleep, which they did, plus bodyguard. All Mike did was to call Warden's private phone at intervals from midnight to 400. An enlisted number supposedly known only to his personal staff. By calling members of his personal staff simultaneously and connecting them to Mort, Mike not only created confusion, but got Warden angry at his assistants. He flatly refused to believe their denials. That was luck that Warden, going too far, ran down a ramp. Even a new chum does that only once. So he walked on air and sprained an ankle, close enough to a broken leg, and Alvarez was there when it happened. Those sleep losers were mostly just that. Like a rumor that authority catapult had been mined and would be blown up another night. 90 plus 18 men can't search 100 kilometers of catapult in hours, especially when 90 are peace dragoons, not used to peace and work and hating it. This midnight came at New Earth with sun high. They were outside far longer than is healthy, managed to cook up their own accidents while almost cooking themselves, and showed nearest thing to mutiny in regiment's history. One accident was fatal. Did he fall, or was he pushed? A sergeant. Midnight alarms made peace dragoons on passport watch, much taken by yawning and more bad-tempered, which produced more clashes with loonies and so greater resentment both ways. So Simon increased pressure. Adam Celine's verse was on a higher plane. Mike submitted it to proof and accepted his literary judgment. Good, I think, without resentment. Mike's scansion and rhyming were perfect. Mike, being a computer with whole English language in his memory, enabled the search for a fitting word in microseconds. What was weak was self-criticism. That improved rapidly under Proof's stern editorship. Adam Celine's byline appeared first in dignified pages of Moonglove over a somber poem titled Home. Was dying thoughts of old transportee. His discovery as he is about to leave that Luna is his beloved home. Language was simple. Rhyme scheme unforced. Only thing faintly subversive was conclusion on part of dying man that even many wardens he has endured was not too high a price. Not if Moonglove's editors thought twice. Was good stuff. They published. Alvarez turned editorial office inside out, trying to get a line back to Adam Celine. Issue had been on sale half a lunar before Alvarez noticed it. Or had it called to his attention. We were fretted. We wanted that byline noticed. We were much pleased with the way Alvarez oscillated when he did see it. Editors were unable to help think boss. They told him truth. Poem had come in by mail. Did they have it? Yes, surely. Sorry, no envelope. They were never saved. After a long time, Alvarez left, flanked by 4 dragoons he had fetched along for his health. Hoped he enjoyed studying that sheet of paper. Was piece of Adam Celine's business stationery. Celine, Associates, Luna City, Investments, Office of the Chairman, Old Dome. And under that was typed, Home, by Adam Celine, etc. Any fingerprints were added after it left us. Had been typed on Underwood Office Electrostator, commonest model in Luna. Even so, were not too many as are importado. The scientific detective could have identified machine, would have found it in Luna City Office of Luna Authority. Machines, should say, as we found 6 at model in office and used them in rotation. 5 words, and moved to next. Cost bio and self-sleep, but too much risk even though Mike listened at every phone, ready to warn. Never did it that way again. Alvarez was not a scientific detective. 11. In early 76, I had too much to do. Could not neglect customers. Party work took more time even though all possible was delegated. But decisions had to be made on analyst things, and messages passed up and down. Had to squeeze in hours of heavy exercise, letting weights, and doesn't arrange permission to use centrifuge complex. One used by earthworm scientists to stretch time in Luna. While I'd used it before, this time could not advertise that I was getting in shape for Earthside. Exercising without centrifuge is less efficient and was especially boring, because did not know there would be need for it. But according to Mike, 30% of ways events could fall required some loony, able to speak for party, to make trip to Terra. Could not see myself as an ambassador. Don't have education, and not diplomatic. Prof was obvious choice of those recruited, more likely to be. But Prof was old, might not live to land Earthside. Mike told us that a man of Prof's age, body type, etc., had less than 40% chance of reaching Terra alive. But Prof did gaily undertake strenuous training to let him make most of his poor chances. So what could I do but put on weights and get to work, ready to go and take his place if old heart clicked off. Lyle did same, on assumption that something might keep me from going. She did it to shed misery. Lyle always used gallantry in place of logic. On top of business, party work, and exercise was farming. We lost 3 sons by marriage while gaining 2 fine lads, Frank and Ali. Then Greg went to work for Luno Hoko as boss drillman on the catapult. Was needful. Much skull sweat went into hiring construction crew. We could use non-party men for most jobs, but key spots had to be party men as competent as they were politically reliable. Greg did not want to go. Our farm needed him, and he did not like to leave his congregation, but accepted. That made me again a valet, part-time, to pigs and chickens. Hans is a good farmer. Picked up load and worked enough for 2 men. But Greg had been farm manager ever since Grandpa retired. New responsibility worried Hans. Should have been mine, being senior, but Hans was better farmer and closer to it. Always been expected he would succeed Greg someday. So, I backed him up by agreeing with his opinions and tried to be half the farm hand in hours I could squeeze. Left no time to scratch. Late in February, I was returning from a long trip. Notably, Pack-a-Wonder, Churchill. New tube had just been completed across Sinus Media, so I went on to Hong Kong in Luna. Business. I did make contacts now that I could promise emergency service. Fact that Enville below the Hatchie bus ran only during dark semi-lunar had made impossible before. But business was covered for politics. Liaison with Hong Kong had been thin. Lyle had done well by phone. Second member of her cell was an old comrade, Comrade Clayton, who not only had clean bill of health in Alvarez's filed zebra, but also stood high in Wyo's estimation. Clayton was briefed on policies, warned of bad apples, encouraged to start cell system, while leaving old organization untouched. Wyo told him to keep his membership as before. But phone isn't face-to-face. Hong Kong should have been our stronghold. Was less tied to authority, as its utilities were not controlled from complex. Was less dependent because lack, until recently, of tube transport had made selling at Catapult Head less inviting. Was stronger financially as Bank of Hong Kong Luna notes were better money than official authority script. I suppose Hong Kong dollars weren't money in some legal sense. Authority would not accept them. Times I went outside, had to buy authority script to pay for ticket. But what I carried was Hong Kong dollars, as could be traded outside at a small discount, whereas script was nearly worthless there. Money or not, Hong Kong banknotes were backed by honest Chinese bankers instead of being fiat of bureaucracy. 100 Hong Kong dollars was 31.1 grams of gold. Old troy ounce, payable on demand at home office. And they did keep gold there, fetched up from Australia. Or you could demand commodities, non-potable water, steel of defined grade, heavy water, power plant specs, other things. Could buy these with script too, but authorities' prices kept changing. Upward. I'm no fiscal theorist. Time might try to explain I got headache. Simply know we were glad to lay hands on this non-money, whereas script won't accept it reluctantly, and not just because we hated authority. Hong Kong should have been party's stronghold, but was not. We had decided that I should risk face-to-face there, letting some know my identity, as a man with one arm can't disguise easily. Was risk that would jeopardize not only me, but could lead to Lyle, Mom, Greg, and Sidrus if I took a fall. But who said revolution was safe? Comrade Clayton turned out to be young Japanese. Not too young, but they all look young, till suddenly look old. He was not all Japanese, Malay and other things, but had Japanese name, and household had Japanese manners. Giri and Gimu controlled, and it was my good fortune that he owed much Gimu to Wyo. Clayton was not convict ancestry. His people had been volunteers, marched aboard ship at gunpoint during time Great China consolidated Earthside Empire. I did not hold it against him. He hit Morton as bitterly as any old wag. Met him first at a tea house, taproom to us Hell City types, and for 2 hours we talked everything but politics. He made up mind about me, took me home. My only complaint about Japanese hospitality is those chin-high baths are too bleeding hot. But turned out I was not jeopardized. Mama-san was as skilled at makeup as Sidrus. My social arm is very convincing, and the kimono covered its seam. Met 4 cells in 2 days, as Comrade Bork, and wearing makeup and kimono and toddy, and if a spy was among them, don't think he could identify Manuel O'Kelly. I had gone there intensely briefed, endless figures and projections, and talked about just one thing, famine in 82, 6 years away. You people are lucky, won't be hit so soon, but now with YouTube, you're going to see more and more of your people turning to wheat and rice, and shipping it to Catapult Pit. Your time will come. They were impressed. Old organization, as I saw it, and from what I heard, relied on oratory, whooped up music, and emotion, much like church. I simply said, there it is, comrades. Check those figures. I'll leave them with you. Met one comrade separately. A Chinese engineer, given a good look at anything, can figure a way to make it. Asked this one if he had ever seen a laser gun small enough to carry, like a rifle. He had not. Mentioned that passport system made it difficult to smuggle these days. He said thoughtfully that jewels ought not to be hard, and he would be in Luna City next week to see his cousin. I said Uncle Adam would be pleased to hear from him. All in all, was a productive trip. On my way back I stopped in Novelin to check an old-fashioned punch tape Foreman I had overhauled earlier. Had lunch afterwards, ran into my father. He and I were friendly, but didn't matter if we let a couple of years go by. We talked through a sandwich and beer, and as I got up he said, "Nice to see you, Manny. Free Luna." I echoed, too startled not to. My old man was as cynically non-political as you could find. If he would say that in public, campaign must be taking hold. So I arrived in El City cheered up, and not too tired, having napped from Torcelli. Took Bell from Tube South, then dropped down and through Bottom Alley, avoiding Causeway crowd and heading home. Went to Judge Brody's courtroom as I came to it, meaning to say hello. Brody is old friend, and we have amputation in common. After he lost a leg, he set up as a judge, and was quite successful. Was not another judge in El City at that time who did not have side business, at least make both court, sell insurance. If two people brought the quarrel to Brody, and he could not get them to agree that his settlement was just, he would return fees, and, if they fought, referee their duel without charging, and still be trying to persuade them not to use knives, right up to squaring off. He wasn't in his courtroom, The plug hat was on desk. Started to leave, only to be checked by a group coming in. Still Yagi types. A girl was with him, and an older man hustled by them. He was masked, and clothing had that vague something that says, tourist. We used to get tourists even then. Not hordes, but quite a few. They would come up from Earth, stop in a hotel for a week, go back in same ship, or perhaps stop over for next ship. Most of them spent their time gambling after a day or two of sightseeing, including that silly walk up on surface every tourist makes. Most ladies ignore them and greater than their foibles. One lad, oldest, about 18 and leader, said to me, "Where's Judge?" "Don't know, not here." He chewed lip, looked baffled. I said, "What trouble?" He said soberly, "Going to eliminate this Jew. The one judge to confirm it." I said, "Cover tap rooms around here. Probably find him." A boy about 14 spoke up. "Say, aren't you Gospodino Kelly?" "Right. Why don't you judge it?" Oldest looked relieved. "Will you, Господин?" I hesitated. Sure, I've gone judge at times, who hasn't? But don't hanker for responsibility. However, it troubled me to hear young people talk about eliminating a tourist. Bound to cause talk. Decided to do it. So I said to the tourist, "Will you accept me as your judge?" He looked surprised. I had a choice in the matter. I said patiently, "Of course, can't expect me to listen if you aren't willing to accept my judging, but not urging you. Your life, not mine." He looked very surprised, but not afraid. His eyes lit up. "My life, did you say?" "Apparently, you heard lads say that they intend to eliminate you. You may prefer to wait for Judge Brody." He didn't hesitate, smiled and said, "I accept you as my judge, sir." "As you wish." I looked at oldest lad. "What parties to quarrel? Just you and your young friend?" "Oh no, Judge, all of us." "Not your judge yet." I looked around. "Do you all ask me to judge?" One nods. None said no. Leader turned to girl, added, "Better speak up, Tish. You accept Judge O'Kelly?" "What? Oh, sure." She was a vapid little thing, vacantly pretty, curvy, perhaps 14, slot machine type, and how she might wind up. Sota prefers being queen over pack of Stilyagi to solid marriage. I don't blame Stilyagi. They chase around corridors because not enough females. Work all day and nothing to go home to at night. Okay, court has been accepted, and all are bound to abide by my verdict. Let's settle fees. How high can you boys go? Please understand I'm not going to judge in elimination for times. So ante up, right turning loose. Leader blinked. They went into huddle. Shortly he turned and said, "We don't have much. Will you do it for $5 apiece?" 6 of them. No. I'd not to ask a court to judge elimination at that price. They huddled again. $50, Judge. 60, 10 each, and another 10 from you, Tish. I said to the girl. She looked surprised, indignant. Come, I said. Tanstaffel. She blinked and reached in the pouch. She had money. Types like that always have. I collected $70, laid it on desk, and said to the tourist, "Can match it?" Beg pardon. Kids are paying $70 Hong Kong for judgment. You should match it. If you can't, open pouch and prove it, and can owe it to me. But that's your share. I added, cheap for a capital case. The kids can't pay much, so you get a bargain. I see. I believe I see. It matched with 70 Hong Kong. Thank you, I said. Now, does either side want a jury? Girl's eyes lit up. Sure, let's do it right. Earthworm said, under these circumstances, perhaps I need one. Can have it, I assured. Want the counsel? Why, I suppose I need a lawyer too. I said counsel, not lawyer. Aren't any lawyers here? Again, he seemed delighted. I suppose counsel, if I elected to have one, would be of the same informal quality as the rest of these proceedings. Maybe, maybe not. I'm informal sort of judge, so suit yourself. I think I rely on your informality, Your Honor. Oldest lad said, Miss Cherry, you pick up Chet, or do we? I pay. I agreed to judge for 140 gross. Haven't you been in court before? But not going to kill my net for extra I could do without. 6 jurymen, $5 each. Signals an alley. One boy stepped out and shouted, Jerry work, $5 job. They rounded up 6 men, and were what you would expect in Bottom Alley. Didn't worry me, as I had no intention of paying mind to them. If you go judge, they're in good neighborhood with chance of getting solid citizens. I went behind desk, sat down, put on Brody's plug yet. Wondered where he had found it. Probably a cast off from some lodge. Court's in session, he said. Let's have names, and tell me beef. Oldest lad was named Slim Lemke. Girl was Patricia Carmen Zukov. Don't remember others. Tourist stepped up, reached into pouch, and said, My card, sir. I still have it. It read, Stuart Rene Lejoie, poet, traveler, soldier of fortune. Beef was tragically ridiculous. Fine example of why tourists should not wander around without guides. Sure, guides bleed them white, but isn't that what a tourist is for? This one almost lost life from lack of guidance. Had wandered into a tap room, which let Still Yagi hang out, a sort of club room. This simple female had flirted with him. Boys had let matter be, as of course they had to as long as she invited it. But at some point she had laughed, and let him have a feast in ribs. He had taken it as casually as a loony would, but had answered in distinctively earthworm manner. Slipped arm around waist and pulled her to him, apparently tried to kiss her. Now, believe me, in North America this wouldn't matter. I've seen things not like it. But of course Tish was astonished, perhaps frightened. She screamed. A pack of boys set upon him and roughed him up, then decided he had to pay for his crime, but do it correctly. Find a judge. Most likely they chickened. Chances are not one had ever dealt with an elimination. But their lady had been insulted. Had to be done. I questioned them, especially Tish. I decided I had it straight. Then said, Let me sum up. Here we have a stranger. Doesn't know our ways. He offended, he's guilty. But meant no offense, far as I can see. What does jury say? Hey, you there? Wake up, what do you say? Juryman looked up blearily, said, We'll eliminate him. Very well, and you? Well... Next one hesitated. Guess it would be enough just to beat tar out of him. So he'll know better next time. Can't have men pawn women. Her place will get to be as bad as they say Tara is. Sensible? I agreed. And you? Only one juror voted for elimination. Others ranged from a beating to very high fines. What do you think, Slim? Well... He was worried. Face in front of gang. Face in front of what might be his girl. But had cooled down and didn't want Chum eliminated. We already worked him over. Maybe if he got down on hands and knees and kissed floor in front of Tish and said he was sorry. Will you do that, Господин Lajoie? If you so rule, Your Honor. I don't. Here's my verdict. First, the juryman. You. You are fined. Fee paid because you fell asleep while supposed to be judging. Grab him, boys. Take it away from him and throw him out. They did, enthusiastically. Made up a little for greater excitement they had thought of, but really could not stomach. Now, Господин Lejoie, you are fined 50 Hong Kong for not having common sense to learn local customs before starting around. Ante up. I collected it. Now, you boys line up. You are fined $5 apiece for not exercising good judgment in dealing with a person you knew as a stranger and not used to our ways. Stopping him from touching Tish, that's fine. Rough him, that's okay too. He'll learn faster. I could have tossed him out. But talking about eliminating for what was honest mistake, well, it's out of proportion. $5 each. Ante up. Slim gulped. Judge, I don't think we have that much left. At least I don't. I thought that might be. You have a week to pay, or I post your names in Old Dome. Know where Bonton Jute shop is? Near Easement Lot 13. My wife runs it. Pay her. Court's out. Slim, don't go away. No you, Tish. Господин Lejoie. Let's take these young people up and buy them a cold drink and get better acquainted. Again, his eyes filled with odd delight that reminded of Prof. A charming idea, Judge. I'm no longer Judge. It's up a couple of ramps, so I suggest you offer Tish your arm. He bowed and said, My lady, may I? And crooked his elbow to her. Tish at once became very grown up. Спасибо, господин. I am pleased. Took them to expensive place, one where their wild clothes and excessive makeup looked out of place. They were edgy, but I tried to make them feel easy, and Stuart Lejoie tried even harder, unsuccessfully. Got their addresses as well as names. Weil had one sequence, which was concentrating on Stilyagi. Presently they finished their coolers, stood up, thanked and left. Lejoie and I stayed on. Господин, he said presently. You used another word earlier. To me, I mean. Call me Manny. Now that kids are gone. What word? It was when you insisted that young lady Tish, that Tish must pay to, Tonstaple, or something like that. Oh, Tonstaffel means there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. And isn't, I added, pointing to a free lunch sign across Rome. All these drinks would cost half as much. Was reminding her that anything free costs twice as much in long run, or turns out worthless. An interesting philosophy. Not philosophy. Fact. One way or other, what you get, you pay for. I fanned air. Was Earth said once, and her expression, free as air. This air isn't free. You pay for every breath. Really? No one has asked me to pay to breathe. He smiled. Perhaps I should stop. Can happen. You almost breathe a vacuum tonight. But nobody asks you because you've paid. For you, it's part of a round-trip ticket. For me, it's a quarter of the charge. I started to tell how my family buys and sells air to community co-op. Decided it was too complicated. But we both pay. Lejoie looked thoughtfully pleased. Yes, I see the economic necessity. It's simply new to me. You tell me, Manny, and I'm called Stu. Was I really in danger of breathing vacuum? Should have charged you more. Please. You aren't convinced. But charge kids all they could scrape up, and find them too, to make them think. Couldn't charge you more than them. Should have. You think it was all a joke? Believe me, sir, I did not think it was a joke. I just have trouble grasping that your local laws permit a man to be put to death so casually and for so trivial an offense. I sighed. What do you start explaining when a man's words show there isn't anything he understands about subject? Instead, he's loaded with preconceptions that don't fit facts, and doesn't even know he has. Stu, I said, let's take that piece at a time. Are no local laws, so you couldn't be put to death under them? Your offense was not trivial. I simply made allowance for ignorance, and wasn't done casually, or boys would have dragged you to nearest lock at zero pressure, shoved you in, and cycled. Instead, we're most formal, good boys, and paid all in cash to give you a trial, and didn't grumble when the verdict wasn't even close to what they asked. Now, anything still not clear? He grinned and turned out to have dimples like proof. Found myself liking him still more. On feet and afraid, I seem to have wandered into looking glass land. Expected that. Having been outside, I know how their minds work. Some. An earthworm expects to find a law, a printed law for every circumstance. Even have laws for private matters such as contracts. Really? If a man's word isn't any good, who would contract with him? Doesn't he have reputation? We don't have laws, I said. Never been allowed to. Have customs, but underwritten and not enforced. Or could say they are self-enforcing because are simply way things have to be. Conditions being what they are. Could say our customs are natural laws because our way people have to behave to stay alive. When you made a pass at Tish, you were violating a natural law, and almost caused you to breathe vacuum. He blinked thoughtfully. Would you explain the natural law I violated? I had better understand it, or best I return to my ship and stay in board until lift, to stay alive? Certainly. It's so simple that once you understand, you'll never be in danger from it again. Here we are, 2 million males, less than 1 million females. A physical fact, basic as rock or vacuum. Then add idea of Tannstoffel. When thing is scarce, price goes up. Women are scarce, aren't enough to go around. That makes them most valuable thing in Luna, more precious than ice or air. As men without women don't care whether they stay alive or not. Except a cyborg, if you regard him as a man, which I don't. I went on. So what happens? And mind you, things were even worse when this custom or natural law first shoved itself back in 20th century. Ratio was 10 to 1, or worse then. One thing is what always happens in prison. Men turn to other men. That helps not much. Problem still is because most men want women and won't settle for substitute. No chance of getting true guilt. They get so anxious they will kill for it. And from stories old timers tell, was killing enough to chill your teeth in those days. But after a while, those still alive found a way to get along. Things shake down. As automatic as gravitation. Those who adjust to facts stay alive. Those who don't are dead, and no problem. What that means, here and now, is that women are scarce and called tune, and you are surrounded by 2 million men who see to it you dance to that tune. You have no choice. She has all choice. She can hit you so hard it draws blood. You doesn't lay a finger on her. Look, you put an arm around Tish, maybe try to kiss. Suppose instead she had gone to the hotel room with you. What would happen? Oh, heavens. I suppose they would have torn me to pieces. They would have done nothing, shrugged and pretended not to see. Because choice is hers, not yours, not theirs, exclusively hers. Well, be risky to ask her to go to the hotel. She might take offense, and that would give boys license to rough you up. But, well, take this Tish, a silly little tart. If you had flashed as much money as I saw in your pouch, she might have taken into head that a bundle with tourists was just about what she needed, and suggested it herself. In which case, would have been utterly safe. Lejoie shivered. At her age, it scares me to think of it. She's below the age of consent, statutory rape. Oh, bloody, no such thing. Women her age are married, or ought to be. Still is no rape in Luna, none. Men won't permit. If rape had been involved, They wouldn't have bothered to find the judge, and all men in earshot would have scrambled to help. But chance that a girl that big is virgin is negligible. When they're little, their mothers watch over them, with help from everybody in city. Children are safe here, but when they reach husband high, he's not holding them, and mothers quit trying. If they choose to run corridors and have fun, can't stop them. What the girl is nubile, she's her own boss. You married? No. He added with a smile. Not at present. Suppose you are, and wife told you she was marrying again. What would you do? Or that you should pick that, something like it did happen. As some attorney had made sure she got no alimony. Alimony isn't a word here. I learned it Earthside. Here you might, or a loony husband might say, I think we'll need a bigger place, dear. Or might simply congratulate her and his new co-husband. Or if it made him so unhappy he couldn't stand it, might opt out and pack clothes. But whatever would not make slightest fuss. If he did, opinion would be unanimous against him. His friends, men and women alike, would snub him. Poor sod would probably move to Novelin, change name, and hope to live it down. All our customs work that way. If you're out in a field and a cupboard needs air, you lend him a bottle and don't ask cash. But when you're both back in pressure again, if he won't pay up, nobody would criticize if you eliminated him without a judge. But he would pay. Air is almost as sacred as women. If you take a new chum in a poker game, you give him air money, not eating money. Can work or starve. If you eliminate a man other than self-defense, you pay his debts and support his kids, or people won't speak to you, buy from you, sell to you. Money, you're telling me that I can murder a man here and settle the matter merely with money? Oh, not at all. But eliminating isn't against some law. Oh, no laws, except Warden's regulations. And Warden doesn't care what one lunatic does to another. But we figure this way. If a man is killed, either he had it coming, and everybody knows it. Usual case. Or his friends will take care of it by eliminating men who did it. Either way, no problem. Nor many eliminations. Even set duels aren't common. His friends will take care of it. Then I suppose those young people had gone ahead. I have no friends here. Was the reason I agreed to judge. But I doubted those kids could have egged each other into it. Didn't want to take chance. Eliminating a tourist could give our city a bad name. Does it happen often? Can't recall has ever happened. Of course, may have been made to look like accident. A new chum is accident prone. Luna is that sort of place. They say if a new chum lives a year, he'll live forever. But nobody sells him insurance first year. Glanced at time. Stu, have you had dinner? No, I was about to suggest that you come to my hotel. The cooking is good. Auberge Orléans. As a press shoulder. Ate there once. Instead, would you come home with me and meet my family? We have soup or something about this hour. Isn't that an imposition? No, that's a minute while I phone. Mom said, Manuel! How sweet a dear. Captain has been in for hours. I decided it would be tomorrow or later. Just drunken debauchery, Mimi, and evil companions. Coming home now, if can remember way, and bringing evil companion. Yes, dear. Dinner in 20 minutes, try not to be late. Don't you want to know whether my evil companion is male or female? Knowing you, I assume it is a female. But I fancy I shall be able to tell when I see her. You know me so well, Mom. Want girls to look pretty. Don't want the visitor to outshine them. Don't be too long. Dinner will spoil. Bye, dear. Love. Love, Mom. I waited. Then punched Mycroft XXX. Might want a name searched. Outside name, passenger in Popov. Stuart Rene Leroy. Stuart with a U, and last name might file under either L or J. Didn't wait many seconds. Mike found Stu in all major Earthside references. Who's Who, Don and Bradstreet, Almanac de Gotha, London Times running files, name it. French, expatriate, royalist, wealthy. 6 more names sandwiched into ones he used. 4 university degrees, including one in law from Sorbonne. Noble ancestry of France and Scotland. Divorced, no children. From Honorable Pamela Blue Blood. Sort of earthworm who wouldn't speak to a loony of convict ancestry, except Stu would speak to anyone. I listened a pair of minutes, then asked Mike to prepare a full dossier, following all associational leads. Mike, might be our pigeon. Could be, man. Got to run by. Returned thoughtfully to my guest. Almost a year earlier, during alcoholic talk in a hotel room, Mike had promised us 1 chance in 7, if certain things were done. One sine qua non was help on Terra itself. Despite throwing rocks, Mike knew, we all knew, that mighty Terra with 11 billion people and endless resources could not be defeated by 3 million people who had nothing, even though we stood on a high place and could drop rocks on them. Mike drew parallels from 18th century, when Britain's American colonies broke away, and from 20th, when many colonies became independent of several empires, and pointed out that in no case had a colony broken loose by brute force. No, in every case Imperial State was busy elsewhere, had grown weary and given up without using full strength. For months we had been strong enough, had we wished, to overcome Warden's bodyguards. Once our catapult was ready, any time now, we would not be helpless. But we needed a favorable climate on Terra. For that, we needed help on Terra. Prof had not regarded it as difficult, but turned out to be quite difficult. His Earthside friends were dead, or nearly, and I had never had any, but a few teachers. We sent inquiry down through cells. What vips do you know Earthside? And usually answer was, you kidding? No program. Prof watched passenger lists on incoming ships, tried to figure a contact, and had been reading the lunar printouts of Earthside newspapers, searching for vips he could reach through past connection. I had not tried. Handful I had met on Terra were not vips. Prof had not picked Stu off Popov's passenger list, but Prof had not met him. I did not know whether Stu was simply eccentric, as odd personal cards seemed to show. But he was the only Terran I had ever had a drink with in Lana. Seemed a dinkum comer, and Mike's report showed hunch was not all bad. He carried some tonnage. So I took him home to see what family thought of him. Started well. Mom smiled and offered hand. He took it, and thought so deeply I thought he was going to kiss it. Would have, I think, had I not warned him about femmes. Mom was cooing as she led him in to dinner. 12. April and May 76 were more hard work and increasing effort to stir up loonies against Warden, and goad him into retaliation. Trouble with Mortal Wart was that he was not a bad egg. Nothing to hate about him other than fact he was symbol of authority. Was necessary to frighten him, to get him to do anything. An average loony was just as bad. He despised Warden as a matter of ritual, but was not stuff that makes revolutionists. He couldn't be bothered. Beer, betting, women, and work. Only thing that kept revolution from dying of anemia was that Peace Dragoons had real talent for antagonizing. But even then we had to keep stirred up. Prof kept saying we needed a Boston Tea Party, referring to mythical incident in an earlier revolution, by which he meant a public ruckus to grab attention. We kept trying. Mike rewrote lyrics of old revolutionary songs. Marseillaise, Internationale, Yankee Doodle, We Shall Overcome, High in the Sky, etc. Giving them words to fit Luna. Stuff like, Sons of Rock and Boredom. Will you let the Warden take from you your liberty? Simon Jester spread them around, and when one took hold, we pushed it. Music only, by radio and video. This put Warden in silly position of forbidding playing of certain tunes, which suited us. People could whistle. Mike studied voice and word choice patterns of deputy administrator, chief engineer, and other department heads. Warden started getting frantic calls at night from his staff, which they denied making. So Alvarez put lock and trace on next one, and sure enough, with Mike's help, Alvarez traced it to supply chief's phone, and was sure it was boss Billy Roberts' voice. But Nick's poison called to Mort seemed to come from Alvarez, and what Mort had to say next day to Alvarez, and when Alvarez set in on defense, can only be described as chaotic, crossed with psychotic. Prophet Mike Stump was afraid Alvarez might lose job, which we did not want. He was doing too well for us. But by then, peace dragoons had been dragged out twice in night on what seemed to be Warden's orders, further disrupting morale. And Warden became convinced he was surrounded by traitors in the official family, while they were sure he had blown every circuit. An ad appeared in Lonia Pravda, announcing a lecture by Dr. Adam Celine on poetry and arts in Luna, a new renaissance. No comrade attended. Ward went down south to stay away. Nor did anybody hang around when 3 squads of peace dragoons showed up. This involves Heisenberg principle as applied to Scarlet Pimpernels. Editor Pravda spent that hour explaining that he did not accept ads in person, and this one was ordered over counter and paid for in cash. He was told not to take ads from Adam Celine. This was countermanded, and he was told to take anything from Adam Celine, but notified Alvarez at once. New catapult was tested with a load dropped into South India Ocean at 35 degrees east, 60 degrees south, a spot used only by fish. Mike was joyed over by his marksmanship, since he had been able to sneak only 2 looks when guidance and tracking radars were not in use, and had relied on just 1 nudge to bring it into bullseye. Earthside News reported giant meteor in sub-Antarctic picked up by Cape Town space track, with projected impact that matched Mike's attempt perfectly. Mike called me to boast while taking down evening's Reuters transmission. "I told you it was dead on," he gloated. "I watched it. What a lovely splash." Later reports on shockwave from seismic labs and on tsunami from oceanographic stations were consistent. Was only canister we had ready. Trouble buying steel. Or Mike might have demanded to try his new toy again. Liberty caps started appearing on Siliagi and the girls. Simon Jester began wearing one between his horns. Paul Marche gave them away as premiums. Alvarez had painful talk with Warden in which Mort demanded to know if his Fink boss felt that something should be done every time kids took up fad. Had Alvarez gone out of his mind? I ran across Slim Lemke on Carver Causeway early May. He was wearing a Liberty cap. He seemed pleased to see me, and I thanked him for prompt payment. He had come in 3 days after Stu's trial, and paid Sidrus 30 Hong Kong for gang. And bought him a cooler. While we were seated, I asked why young people were wearing red hats. Why a hat? Hats weren't earthworm custom yet. He hesitated, then said was sort of a lodge, like Elks. I changed subject. Learned that his full name was Moses Lemke Stone, member of Stone Gang. This pleased me. We were relatives. But surprised me. However, even with families such as Stone sometimes can't always find marriages for all sons. I had been lucky, or might have been roving corridors at his age too. Told him about our connection on my mother's side. He warmed up and shortly said, "Cousin Manuel, ever think about how we ought to elect our own warden?" I said no, I hadn't. Authority appointed him, and I suppose they always would. He asked why we had to have an authority. I asked who had been putting ideas in head. They insisted nobody had, just thinking was all. Didn't he have a right to think? When I got home, I started to check with Mike. Found out lad's party name, if any. But wouldn't have been proper security, nor fair to Slim. On 3 May 76, 71 males named Simon were rounded up and questioned, then released. No newspaper carried story, but everybody heard it. We were cleared down in J's, and 12,000 people can spread a story faster than I would have guessed. We emphasized that one of these dangerous males was only 4 years old. which was not true but very effective. Stu LeJoie stayed with us during February and March, and did not return to Terra until early April. He changed his ticket to next ship, and then to next. When I pointed out that he was riding close to invisible line, where irreversible physiological changes could set in, he grinned and told me not to worry, but made arrangements to use centrifuge. Stu did not want to leave even by April, was kissed goodbye with tears by all my wives and Wyo, and he assured each one he was coming back, but left as he had work to do. By then, he was a party member. I did not take part in the decision to recruit Stu. I felt prejudiced. Wyo and Prof and Mike were unanimous in risking it. I happily accepted their judgment. We all helped to sell Stu LeJoie. Self, Prof, Mike, Wyo, Mom, even Sidris and Lenore and Ludmilla and our kids and Hans and Ali and Frank, as Davis' home life was what grabbed him first. Did not hurt that Lenore was prettiest girl in El City, which is no disparagement of Milla, Wyo, Anna, and Sidris. Nor did it hurt that Stu could charm a baby away from breast. Mom fussed over him. Hans showed him hydroponic farming, and Stu got dirty and sweaty and sloshed around in tunnels with our boys. Helped harvest our Chinese fish ponds, got stung by our bees. Learned to handle a pea suit, and went up with me to make adjustments on solar battery. Helped Anna butcher a hog, and learned about tanning leather. Sat with Grandpa, and was respectful to his naive notions about Terra. Washed dishes with Milla, something no male in our family ever did. Rolled on floor with babies and puppies. Learned to grind flour, and swapped recipes with Mom. I introduced him to Prof, and that started the political side of feeling him out. Nothing had been admitted. We could back away. When Prof introduced him to Adam Salim, who could visit only by phone, as he was in Hong Kong at present. By time Stu was committed to cause, we dropped pretense and let him know that Adam was chairman, whom he would not meet in person for security reasons. But Wyo did most, and was on her judgment that Prof turned cards up and let Stu know that we were building a revolution. Was no surprise. Stu had made up mind, and was waiting for us to trust him. They say a face once launched 1,000 ships. I do not know that Wyo used anything but argument on Stu. I never tried to find out, but Wyo had more to do with committing me than all Prof's theory or Mike's figures. If Wyo used even stronger methods on Stu, she was not first heroine in history to do so for her country. Stu went Earthside with a special codebook. I'm no code and cipher expert except that a computer man learns principles during study of information theory. A cipher is a mathematical pattern under which one letter substitutes for another, simplest being one in which alphabet is merely scrambled. A cipher can be incredibly subtle, especially with help of a computer. But ciphers all have weaknesses, but they are patterns. If one computer can think them up, another computer can break them. Codes do not have same weakness. Let's say that codebook has letter group GLOPS. Does this mean Aunt Minnie will be home Thursday? Or does it mean 3.14157? Meaning is whatever you assign, and no computer can analyze it simply from letter group. Give a computer enough groups, and a rational theory involving meanings or subjects for meanings, and they will eventually worry it out, because meanings themselves show patterns. But is a problem of different kind, on a more difficult level. Code we selected was commonest commercial codebook, used both on Terra and in Luna for commercial dispatches. But we worked it over. Prof and Mike spent hours discussing what information party might wish to send to its agent on Terra, or receive from agent, when Mike put his vast information to work and came up with new set of meanings for codebook. Ones that could say, buy Thai rice futures, as easily as run for life they've caught us. Or anything. The cipher signals were buried in it to permit anything to be said that had not been anticipated. Late one night, Mike made printout of new code via Linear Pravda's facilities. A night editor turned roll over to another comrade, who converted it into a very small roll of film and passed it along in turn, and no one ever knew what they handled or why. Wound up in Stu's pouch. Search of off-planet luggage was tight by then and conducted by bad-tempered dragoons, but Stu was certain he would have no trouble. Perhaps he swallowed it. Thereafter, some of Lunoho Company's dispatches to Terra reached Stu via his London broker. Part of purpose was financial. Party needed to spend money Earthside. Lunoho Co. transferred money there. Not all stolen. Some ventures turned out well. Party needed still more money Earthside. Stu was to speculate, acting on secret knowledge of plan of revolution. He, Prof, and Mike had spent hours discussing what stocks would go up, what would go down, etc. after their tag. This was Prof's pigeon. I am not that sort of gambler. But money was needed before their tag to build climate of opinion. We needed publicity, needed delegates and senators in federated nations, needed some nation to recognize us quickly once the day came. We needed laymen telling other laymen over a beer, what is there on that pile of rock worth one soldier's life? Let them go to hell in their own way, I say. Money for publicity, money for bribes, money for dummy organizations and to infiltrate established organizations, money to get from nature of Luna's economy. Stu had gone loaded with figures, brought out his scientific research, then in popular form. Money to convince foreign office of at least one major nation that there was advantage in a free Luna. Money to sell idea of lunar tourism to a major cartel. Too much money. Stu offered on fortune, and Prof did not discourage it. Where treasure is, heart will be. But still too much money, and far too much to do. I did not know if Stu could swing a tenth of it. Simply kept fingers crossed. At least he gave us a channel to Terra. Prof claimed that communications to enemy were essential to any war, if was to be fought and settled sensibly. Prof was a pacifist. Like his vegetarianism, he did not let it keep him from being rational. Would have made a terrific theologian. As soon as Stu went Earthside, Mike set odds at 1 in 13. I asked him, what in hell? But man, he explained patiently, it increases risk. That it is necessary risk does not change the fact that risk is increased. I shut up. About that time, early May, and in fact I reduced some risks while revealing others. One part of Mike's handled Terra Luna microwave traffic, commercial messages, scientific data, news channels, video, voice radio, telephone, routine authority traffic, and Warden's top secret. Aside from last, Mike could read any of this, including commercial codes and ciphers. Breaking ciphers was a crossword puzzle to him, and nobody mistrusted this machine. Except Warden. And I suspect that his was distrust of all machinery. Was sort of person who finds anything more involved than a pair of scissors complex, mysterious, and suspect. Stone Age mind. Warden used a code that Mike never saw. Also used ciphers, and did not work them through Mike. Instead, he had a moronic little machine in residence office. On top of this, he had arrangement with Authority Earthside to switch everything around at preset times. No doubt he felt safe. Mike broke his cipher patterns into this time change program just to try legs. He did not tackle code until Prof suggested it. It had no interest for him. But once Prof asked, Michael tackled Warden's top secret messages. He had to start from scratch. In past, Mike had erased Warden's messages once transmission was reported. So slowly, he accumulated data for analysis. Painfully slow. For Warden used this method only when he had to. Sometimes a week would pass between such messages. But gradually Mike began to gather meanings for letter groups, each assigned a probability. The code does not crack all at once. Possible to know meanings of 99 groups in a message, and miss essence because one group is merely GLOPS to you. However, user has a problem too. If GLOPS comes through as GLOPT, he's in trouble. Any method of communication needs redundancy, or information can be lost. Was that redundancy that Mike nibbled, with perfect patience of machine? Mike solved most of Warden's code sooner than he had projected. Warden was sending more traffic than in past, and most of it one subject, which helped. Subject being security and subversion. We had Morton at Twitter. He was yelling for help. He reported subversive activity still going on despite 2 phalanges of pistol guns, and demanded enough troops to station guards in all key spots inside all warrens. Authority told him this was preposterous. No more of FN's crack troops could be spared. To be permanently ruined for Earthside duties, and such requests should not be made. If he wanted more guards, he must recruit them from transportees. But such increase in administrative costs must be absorbed in Luna. He would not be allowed more overhead. He was directed to report what steps he had taken to meet new grain quotas set in our such and such. Warden replied to the less extremely moderate requests for trained security personnel. Not repeat, not untrained, unreliable, and unfit convicts were met. He could no longer assure civil order, much less increase quotas. Reply asked sneeringly what difference it made if ex-consignees chose to riot among themselves in their holds. If it worried him. Had he thought of shutting off lights, as was used so successfully in 1996 and 2021? These exchanges caused us to revise our calendar, to speed some phases, slow others. Like a perfect dinner, a revolution has to be cooked so that everything comes out even. Stew needed time Earthside. We needed canisters and small steering rockets, and associated circuitry for rock throwing. And steel was a problem. Buying it, fabricating it, and above all, moving it through meander of tunnels to new catapult site. We needed to increase party at least into Ks, say 40,000, with lost echelons picked for fighting spirit, rather than talents we had sought earlier. We needed weapons against landings. We needed to move Mike's radars, without which he was blind. Mike could not be moved. Bits of him spread all through Luna. But he had 1,000 meters of rock over that central part of him at Complex, was surrounded by steel, and his armor was cradled in springs. Authority had contemplated that someday, somebody might lob H weapons at their control center. All these needed to be done, and pot must not boil too soon. So, we cut down on things that worried Warden, and tried to speed up everything else. Silent Gesture took a holiday. Word went out that Liberty caps were not stylish, but save them. Warden got no more nervous making phone calls. We quit inciting incidents with Dragoons, which did not stop them, but reduced number. Despite efforts to quiet Mort's worries, a symptom showed up, which disquieted us instead. No message. At least we intercepted none. Reached Warden agreeing to his demand for more troops, but he started moving people out of Complex. Civil servants who lived there started looking for holes to rent in L City. Authorities started test drills and resonance exploration in a cubic adjacent to L City, which could be converted into a warren. Could mean that Authority proposed shipping up unusually large draft of prisoners. Could mean that space in Complex was needed for purpose other than quarters. But Mike told us, why kid yourselves? The warden is going to get those troops. That space will be their barracks. Any other explanation I would have heard. I said, but Mike, why didn't you hear if it's troops? You have called the wardens fairly well whipped. Not just fairly well, I've got it whipped. But the last 2 ships have carried Authority VIPs, and I don't know what they talk about away from phones. So, we tried to plan a cover possibility of having to cope with 10 more phalanges, that being Mike's estimate of what cubic being cleared would hold. We could deal with that many, with Mike's help, but it would mean deaths. not bloodless coup d'etat prophet planned. And we increased efforts to speed up other factors. When suddenly, we found ourselves committed. 13. Her name was Mary Lyons. She was 18 years old and born in London. Mother had been exiled via Peace Corps in 56. No record of father. She seems to have been a harmless person. Worked as a stock control clerk in shipping department. Lived in complex. Maybe she hated authority and enjoyed teasing peace dragoons. Or perhaps it started as a commercial transaction, as cold-blooded as any in a crib behind a slot machine lock. How can we know? 6 dragoons were in it. Not satisfied with raping her, if rape it was, they abused her other ways and killed her. But they did not dispose of body neatly. Another civil service femme found it before it was cold. She screamed. Was her last scream. We heard about it at once. Mike called us 3 while Alvarez and Peace Dragoon CO were digging into matter in Alvarez's office. Appears that Peace Goon boss had no trouble laying hands on guilty. He and Alvarez were questioning them one at a time, and quarreling between grillings. Once we heard Alvarez say, "I told you those goons of yours had to have their own women. I warned you." "Stop it," Dragoon officer answered. "I've told you time and again they won't ship any. The question now is how we hush this up." "Are you crazy? Warden already knows." "It's still a question." "Oh, shut up and send him the next one." Early and filthy story Wild joined me in workshop. Was pale under makeup. Said nothing but wanted to sit close and clench my hand. At last was over, and Dragoon officer left Alvarez. We're still quarreling. Alvarez wanted those 6 executed at once, and fact made public. Sensible but not nearly enough for his needs. CEO was still talking about hushing it up. Prof said, "Mike, keep an ear there and listen where else you can." "Well, Mike, bio, plans." I didn't have any. Wasn't a cold, shrewd revolutionist. Just wanted to get my heel in the faces that matched those 6 voices. I don't know. What do we do, Prof? Do. We're on our tiger, we grab its ears. "Mike, where's Finn Nielsen? Find him." Mike answered, "He's calling now." He got Finn in with us, I heard. At Tube South, both guards dead and about 6 of our people. Just people, I mean, not necessarily comrades. Some wild rumor about goons going crazy and raping and killing all women at Complex. Adam, I'd better talk to Prof. "I'm here, Finn," Prof answered in a strong, confident voice. "Now we move. We've got to. Switch off and get those laser guns and men who train with them. Any you can round up." Okay, Adam." "Do as Prof says, then call back." "Hold it, Finn." I cut in. "Manny here. I want one of those guns." "You haven't practiced, Manny." "If it's a laser, I can use it." "Manny," Prof said forcefully. "Shut up. You're wasting time. Let Finn go." "Adam, message for Mike. Tell him plan alert 4. Prof's example damped my oscillating. Had forgotten that Finn was not supposed to know Mike was anybody but Adam Celine. Forgotten everything but raging anger. Mike said, "Should have switched off, Prof. And I put alert 4 on standby when this broke. No traffic now except routine stuff filed earlier. You don't want to interrupt, do you?" "No, just follow alert 4. No earthside transmission either way that tips any news. If one comes in, hold it and consult." Alert 4 was emergency communication doctrine, intended to slap censorship on news to terror without arousing suspicion. For this, Mike was ready to talk in many voices with excuses as to why a direct voice transmission could be delayed, and any tape transmission was no problem. "Program running," agreed Mike. Good. Manny, calm down, son, and stick to your knitting. Let other people do the fighting. You're needed here. We're going to have to improvise. Lyle, cut out and get word to Comrade Cecilia to get all the irregulars out of the corridors. Get those children home and keep them home. And have their mothers urging other mothers to do the same. We don't know where the fighting will spread, but we don't want children hurt if we can help it. Right away, Prof. Wait. As soon as you've got Sidrus, get moving on your Stilyagi. I want a riot at the Authority City office. Break in, wreck the place, and noise and shouting, destruction. No one hurt if it can be helped. Mike, alert 4M. Cut off the complex, except for your own lines. Prof, I demanded, what sense in starting riots here? Manny, this is the day. Mike, has the rape and murder news reached other Warrens? Not that I've heard. I'm listening here and there with random jumps. Tube stations are quiet except Luna's City. Fighting has just started at Tube Station West. Want to hear it? Not now. Nanny, slide over there and watch it. But stay out of it. And stick close to a phone. Mike, start trouble in all Warrens. Pass the news down the cells and use Finn's version, not the truth. The goons are raping and killing all the women in the complex. I'll give you details, or you can invent them. Can you order the guards at tube stations and other Warrens back to their barracks? I want riots, but there's no point in sending unarmed people against armed men if we can dodge it. I'll try. I hurried to Tube Station West, slowed as I neared it. Corridors were full of angry people. City roared in a way I'd never heard before. And as I crossed the causeway, could hear shots and crowd noise from direction of Authority's city office. Although it seemed to me there had not been time for Wild to reach her Stilyagi. Nor had there been. What Proof had tried to start was underway spontaneously. Station was mobbed, and I had to push through to see what I assumed to be certain. That passport guards were either dead or fled. Dead, it turned out, along with 3 loonies. One was a boy, not more than 13. He had died with his hands on the drug lord's throat, and his head still sporting a little red cap. I pushed away to a public phone and reported. Go back, said Proof, and read the ID of one of those guards. I want name and rank. Have you seen Finn? No. He's headed there with 3 guns. Tell me where the booth you're in is. Get that name and come back to it. One body was gone, dragged away. Bog knows what they wanted with it. Other had been badly battered, but I managed to crowd in and snatch dog chain from neck before it too was taken somewhere. I elbowed back to phone. Found a woman at it. Let it, I said. I've got to use that phone. Emergency. You're welcome to it. Pesky things out of order. Worked for me. Mike had saved it. Gave Proof guard's name. Good, he said. Have you seen Finn? He'll be looking for you at that booth. Haven't hold it. Just spotted him. Okay. Hang on to him. Mike, do you have a voice to fit that raccoon's name? Sorry, Proof. No. Alright. Just make it hoarse and frightened. Chances are the CO won't know it that well. Or what the trooper call Alvarez. He would call his CO. Alvarez gives orders through him. So, call the CO, report the attack, and call for help and die in the middle of it. Riot sounds behind you and maybe a shout of, "There's the dirty bastard now," just before you die. Can you swing it? Programmed. No, haha. Mike said cheerfully. Run it. Manny, put Finn on. Proof's plan was to sucker off duty guards out of barracks and keep suckering them, with Finn's men posted to pick them off as they got out of capsules. And it worked, right up to the point where Morta Ward lost his nerve and kept remaining few to protect himself. while he sent frantic messages Earthside, none of which got through. I wiggled out of Proof's discipline and took a laser gun when second capsule of Peace Dragoons was due. I burned 2 goons, found Bloodlust gone, and let other snipers have rest of squad. Too easy. They would stick heads up out of hatch, and that would be that. Half of squad would not come out until smoked out, and it died with rest. By that time, I was back at my advanced post at Fawn. Warden's decision to haul up caused trouble at Complex. Alvarez was killed, and so was Guncio, and 2 of original Yellow Jackets. But a mixed lot of Dragoons and Yellows, 13, hauled up with Mort, or perhaps were already with him. Mike's ability to follow events by listening was spotty. But once it seemed clear that all armed defectives were inside Warden's residence, Proof ordered Mike to start next phase. Mike turned out all lights in Complex, save those in Warden's residence, and reduced oxygen to gasping point. Not killing point, but low enough to ensure that anyone looking for trouble would not be in shape. But in residence, oxygen supply was kept to 0, leaving pure nitrogen, and left that way 10 minutes. At the end of that time, Finn's man, waiting in pea suits at Warden's private tube station, broke latch on airlock and went in shoulder to shoulder. Luna was ours.
This audiobook has been broken into multiple parts to make the download faster. You have reached the end of a part, but not the end of the complete audiobook. So please check your library for the next part of this audiobook.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program. This is Audible. Blackstone Audiobooks presents The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein. Book 2, A Rabble in Arms. 14. So, a wave of patriotism swept over our new nation and unified it. Isn't that what history say? Oh brother. My dinkum word, preparing a revolution isn't as much haha as having won it. Here we were, in control too soon, nothing ready and 1,000 things to do. Authority in Luna was gone, but lunar authority, Earthside, and federated nations behind it were very much alive. Had they landed 1 troop ship, orbited 1 cruiser, anytime next week or 2, could have taken Luna back cheap. We were a mob. No catapult had been tested, but cannon rock missiles ready to go you could count on fingers of 1 hand. My left hand. No with catapult a weapon that could be used against ships, nor against troops. We had notions for fighting off ships. At the moment, were just notions. We had a few hundred cheap laser guns stockpiled in Hong Kong Luna. Journey engineers are smart, but few men trained to use them. Moreover, authority had useful functions. Brought ice and grain, sold air and water and power, held ownership or control at a dozen key points. No matter what was done in future, wheels had to turn. Perhaps wrecking city offices of authority had been hasty. I thought so, as records were destroyed. However, Proof maintained that loonies, all loonies, needed a symbol to hate and destroy, and those offices were least valuable and most public. But Mike controlled communications, and that meant control of most everything. Proof had started with control of news to and from Earthside, leaving to Mike's censorship and faking of news until we could get around to what to tell Terra, and added some phase M, which cut off Complex from rest of Luna, and with it Richardson Observatory and associated laboratories, Pierce Radioscope, Selena Physical Station, and so forth. These were a problem, as Terran scientists were always coming and going, and staying as long as 6 months, stretching time by centrifuge. Most Terrans in Luna, save for a handful of tourists, 34, were scientists. Something had to be done about these Terrans, but meanwhile keeping them from talking to Terra was enough. For the time being, Complex was cut off by phone, and Mike did not permit capsules to stop at any station in Complex, even after travel was resumed. Which it was as soon as Finn Nielsen and squad were through with dirty work. Turned out Warden was not dead, nor had we planned to kill him. Prof figured that a live Warden could always be made dead, whereas a dead one could not be made alive if we needed him. So, plan was to half kill him, make sure he and his guards would put up no fight, and break in fast while Mike restored oxygen. With fans turning at top speed, Mike computed it would take 4 minutes and a bit to reduce oxygen to effective 0. So, 5 minutes of increasing hypoxia, 5 minutes of anoxia, then force lower lock while Mike shut in pure oxygen to restore balance. This should not kill anyone, but would knock out a person as thoroughly as anesthesia. Hazard to attackers would come from some or all of those inside having pea suits, but even that might not matter. Hypoxia is sneaky. You can pass out without realizing you are short on oxygen. His new chum's favorite fatal mistake.